Hello, I'm Julie Choo, your course creator for Operating Model Transformation Design. Welcome, and I'm so excited that you're here because in this video, I'm going to cover the course structure and your learning journey over the next 12 weeks when you get started on this course with us. Now, before I get into the detail of what you're going to learn in each module, it's important that you've actually completed the lessons that have been created for you in the TOMS program introduction. These lessons will help to establish the context and foundation that you need to progress and gain benefit from attending your course and conducting all the different activities and solving the business problem that we're going to be presenting you in the case study project brief. That's right, as a participant of this course, you're going to take on the role of an operating model designer. Now, you might have a different job title or different role in the enterprise or organization that you're working for or the client project that you're on. But if you're involved in making changes to the operating model and your job is to ensure that the gaps in the operating model from where it is today to where it needs to be in the future are actually addressed and breached and improved with the right activities and outcomes or solutions, then this course is going to show you how to do that using the tools and the techniques from the Strategy Journey framework and the Strategy Journey methodology, and specifically the Transforming Operating Models with Service Design path, of which this course, Operating Model Transformation Design, is a part of. And I'm going to assume that you've completed these program introductory lessons, so you know what are the 5 stages of the strategy journey, and you know what are the 5 models that form the strategy journey framework, which comprises a set of tools and techniques to support an enterprise to navigate its transformation journey. And this transformation journey and end-to-end transformation design process is guided by the 3 strategy journey paths in the strategy journey methodology, which also spans multiple transformation design disciplines or transformation design roles, including operating model design, which is the focus of this course. So when you're undertaking this course with us, you're going to be practicing the 7-stage design process to develop a target operating model game plan, ready for execution, or it's already undergoing co-creation. That's right. You'll be doing design thinking using human-centered design and operational excellence in parallel. This is what we mean by co-creation. When you actually work out what is the right service, what are the right changes with different customers and stakeholders, and the buy-in is there and the funding is there and you succeed together and the services that are being delivered from the changes that are being implemented become sticky. And they're sticky because they're producing the value-added outcomes that meet and even exceed the expectations of customers and users, both externally to the enterprise or internal users and stakeholders too. And we've divided the 7-stage design process into the 7 modules of this course. Now, you'll be using the case study brief, which includes a series of different inputs. So there's a full data set in there to support you to conduct the activities along each of these different stages that are outlined in each of these 7 modules. And when you go through the exercises and activities in each module, you'll be producing a series of outputs that together form the target operating model and business architecture, those artifacts that you would submit into an operating committee or a design authority in the governance structure of an enterprise to gain funding approval to proceed with the transformation recommendations that together form this target operating model game plan in the business architecture stage of the strategy journey. Now, governance is a big topic, and different organizations may have different variants of what might be a typical governance structure for managing transformation budgets that are necessary to fund any transformation activities. We normally associate governance with big organizations, but actually the way a VC would actually fund the activities of a startup is very much a part of the governance process. And similarly, small companies will still need budgets to actually conduct any changes to their operations. And so if you want to learn a little bit more about how governance structures actually works, then there is actually some additional lessons about different governance structures and how different stakeholder roles actually work within it in the Stratability Academy resource library that supports this course. Of course, throughout these exercises and activities that you'll be conducting along the 7 modules of this course, when you're working on your case study problem, we'll be showing you what sorts of stakeholders that you may encounter across the 6 architecture layers of an enterprise and how to work with them, build relationships with them, and you'll be doing this through joining the dots, through data and connecting the people through co-creation, where there are different viewpoints which may be contextual, conceptual, logical, physical, action and implementation, or from the experiential viewpoint from customers, users, and partners. And all this has to work within a governance structure where you'll face stakeholder checkpoints and sign-offs that are required to release the seed funding or investment funding that is required for you to conduct the activities that are necessary to transform the operating model components in the enterprise so that the target operating model can be achieved. And as you go through each stage, some of these outputs will turn into the inputs for the next stage and the activities that you'll be undergoing in the next module. So, as an operating model designer, in Module 1, you're involved in building and ratifying or validating the business case for transformation to gather that contextual viewpoint for the target operating model, as well as the conceptual viewpoint from the business model or business models that should direct the target operating model. The purpose is to understand the value to be generated for the customer and the business in the transformation, and your role is to ensure that all the relevant stakeholders are engaged and aligned on the game plan to achieve the transformation. You'll be gathering the inputs from the strategy design and the business design, including any details on the business model, and the outputs and artifacts that you will be producing to support the target operating model include customer and stakeholder value analysis and the problem context and game plan itself within the business case that needs to be submitted to the operating committee and design authority for stakeholder sign-off. In Stage 2 and Module 2, you'll dive into defining the characteristics of the target operating model for a service. And the purpose here is to ensure that these characteristics in the target operating model deliver on what the different stakeholders want in the business objectives from Stage 1, and covering the contextual and conceptual viewpoints, while also being aligned to the target service that should be delivering the experiences that meet or exceed the expectations of customers, users, and partners in the experiential layer. So the input into this process is the service design or product design, and the output is the service operating model using the service operating model canvas, including what are the KPIs and the final capability flow that will support this particular value stream of activities in the operating model in the future state. Now, if you're actually interested in how to create the service design or product design, then you can learn how to do that in the sister course to Operating Model Transformation Design, which we call Data-Driven Transformation Service Design or Data-Driven Service Design. And together, these 2 courses actually complete the entire Transforming Operating Models with Service Design path. And moving on to Stage 3 and Module 3 of Operating Model Transformation Design, you'll be diving into defining the optimal capabilities to deliver this target service. And specifically, you'll be assessing these capability gaps that exist using a capability maturity model. We'll also be looking into the business's own level of agility and to ensure that it's suitable to reach the optimal capability level to fulfill the actual service. And so one of the things that you're going to learn here is what's the difference between an operating model's agility level, which is one of the outputs that you'll define, versus the maturity of a capability using the Capability Maturity Index to characterize the achievability of certain capability gaps. So you'll be producing a gap analysis output as well. And crucially, and exclusive to this course, we also cover what levels of agility it would take to achieve a digital operating model, and what makes a digital operating model effective or optimal, as well as sustainable. So how do you balance optimal performance versus sustainability, and what is the difference if there is one, going forward with all these new technologies and what's necessary to service our global digital economy that also has this need to become carbon neutral and save the planet as well. And you'll have the target service operating model, which was defined in the previous stage and module, and some details of the performance of current capabilities through the inputs from the case study to help you conduct this gap analysis at the logical layer of the enterprise. And of course, we'll be providing you with different strategies and approaches for working with different stakeholders, because this stage and this validation of gaps will involve multiple checkpoints with different stakeholders. Now, all strategic plans are nothing without execution, and that includes the target operating model design. And execution activities will require resources that have to be funded. And so there is a cost to run this target operating model that has to be considered. And this is what you'll do in the next stage and module. You'll define the relevant process flows and the KPIs for each unique service proposition or enabling capability in this target operating model. And you'll start to assess the operating model components in people, processes, data, and technology systems by location to deliver each capability, using the capability definition canvas in the extended strategy journey framework. And more importantly, you'll be calculating the operating costs. And so your outputs or artifacts include the capability definitions with their KPIs, process flows, operating model components, and operating costs. And you'll also be ratifying these costs to serve in the target state and target operating model with different stakeholders to ensure that alignment to the business case. And you'll be conducting this cost analysis using data from the logical layer of the business, with some inputs from the physical layer, but you're not going to get too deep into unnecessary analysis. Analysis can take too long if you go too deep, and if you're evaluating or making the wrong steps, looking at things that aren't necessary. And that is one of the unique approaches that we take on this course and part of the strategy journey methodology to help you save time and money while conducting transformation and change management, end to end and through joining the dots. And when you're past this halfway point in the operating model design process and the course as well, you've done a lot of work to complete the detail into what capabilities comprise this target operating model. So you're nearly ready to submit this target operating model design for stakeholders sign-off and to get that formal funding approval for the execution phases to get started. But this next step is where many operating model design submissions fail. And they fail because the operating model design is submitted without a game plan roadmap to support business growth towards this optimal target state. When plans are submitted merely as costs and you can't show benefit and you can't show the growth from the execution process and effort, then the costs in time, resources, and funding can be difficult to justify, especially when these funds are tight because of market and economic conditions. And so stage 5 and module 5 is to design the operating model game plan roadmap, including how it aligns to the service innovation steps to provide that higher level of confidence of success in transformation. So in this module, we'll be using the proprietary service innovation matrix from the strategy journey framework to help you define the realistic service enhancement steps to achieve the optimal target state. And you'll be involved in looking at the cost benefit of the specific strategies for each enhancement and calculating these to support this game plan roadmap, which you'll be defining and which is the output from this module. And with this game plan roadmap and the other artifacts, you will now have all the components for the target operating model design submission for stakeholder sign-off, which are most likely to be approved because you've considered what growth and what benefit comes with the cost of any specific activities. And this game plan roadmap will actually join the dots with the game plan that you created or that you validated in Module 1 as part of the business case and the strategic objectives defined by the strategic leadership of the enterprise that you're serving. And with the funding approved from your operating model design submission, which is still relatively high level because we've only been focused on the conceptual and logical layers of the architecture of an enterprise, but with some pointers into the physical layer to help us determine the costs, the next stage, or module 6 of the course, is where we move into architecting the operating model components in the physical layer. And so we begin to define what will actually be implemented in the implementation layer as well, in the enterprise of this target state for the target service. And so with the detail from the target capabilities in the target service operating model, which you defined earlier, from modules 2, 3, and 4, you'll now be directed to define the detailed target operating model resource components for systems, locations, and the organizational design that will support this target state. And you'll do that using 3 further canvases from the Extended Strategy Journey framework. So you'll be using the Service Architecture Canvas, the Location Footprint Design Canvas, and the Organizational Design Canvas to showcase what physical changes will be made to the operating model. And of course, these physical changes that are to be implemented have to be ratified with stakeholders again, who will need to sign off on these changes. And earlier in the course, in modules 4 and 5, you would have delved into some of the high-level costs to run the operating model in the target state, and also the benefits in the game plan roadmap, which were necessary to help you gain that first stage of sign-off and approval. But now, to get the second stage of sign-off and approval, you'll most likely need to determine the costs for the transformation and the physical ROI as well. And so in the final stage of Module 7 of this course, we'll be showing you how to define the costs of the physical transformation and the ROI that you'll receive from implementation. So you'll be using the target resource components defined from Module 6 and working out what are the transformation gaps based on the maturity and costs of running the current components in the current operating model. We'll be showing you how to assess the resource gaps and how to define and calculate the costs to close these gaps, and how to gather historical transformation cost information to support this cost estimation. And based on the size of the gap, we'll be showing you how to break up the transformation effort into phases, and how these phases are going to align to the different business objectives that were originally defined in Stage 1 and Module 1 in the overall game plan. So you'll be updating the game plan roadmap with these complete transformation costs to create this detailed final output, which will serve as the input into the next path in the strategy journey methodology for managing the transformation journey and managing the execution plan, which is the role typically of portfolio and project management, whom we refer to as the transformation lead in the strategy journey. Typically, this final stage actually overlaps with the start of the next path. And so the portfolio and project managers are stakeholders that you need to work with as the operating model designer, and whom you need to support to ensure that their execution roadmap and implementation plan is realistic and capable of delivering all the benefits that you've defined and designed in the target operating model. And of course, it's possible that some portfolio managers and project managers, these transformation leads, may be given the responsibility of operating model design. But these are separate activities, separate design processes, requiring different skills and expertise, because the focus is on human-centered design and operational excellence to deliver the value and not simply to deliver on time and on budget. And this is why we don't use titles to describe the role of the operating model designer. Titles can change, and they are different based on different organizations and how they may be structured. As we indicated in the beginning of this lesson, you are an operating model designer if you are involved in addressing the gaps in the operating model to deliver transformation in an enterprise and especially to deliver a new and improved service to customers, users, and stakeholders, which typically takes place during the business architecture stage of the strategy journey. As you can see, we cover a lot in this deep dive training course, and the course is delivered to you with many features, including 40 plus on-demand video mini lectures, with modules being drip-fed to you in a timely fashion so that you have plenty of time to learn the materials while following the design process where data is a key element. So you shouldn't be skipping through to future lessons until you've actually completed earlier ones, because there's a dependency between the data and the activities that you do from one module into the next one. And all of these video topics are supported by real-world applications, so examples of real companies solving real problems, so that you can relate to them and apply what you've learned back into your own world in your own company for your own clients. All modules also include some quiz questions which you must complete, and they allow us to identify if you have properly learnt the materials and to award the certificate of completion at the end of the course. As I already highlighted, your course includes a series of activities which are grouped into over 15 plus assignments where you'll be problem solving using your case study project brief. And there are different case study projects or scenarios to choose from so that you are able to be problem specific. And these are supported by 6 plus live lessons that take place every 2 weeks so that you can get the support that you need from our instructors, myself included, and other mentors and experts while you're undergoing the course to solve this business problem in your case study and to relate what you've learned to your real work for the company or organization or the clients that you serve. These live lessons are mentoring and coaching sessions. You'll be spending roughly 12 weeks with us to study the materials, complete the exercises, and join the mentoring and coaching review sessions. And there is a live calendar of when these mentoring and coaching sessions actually takes place, with breaks in between, which you'll find in the course forum. And that's where you can book into the lessons, as well as search the library of past questions and answers from previous cohorts, and add your own new questions to be answered by other past and present cohort participants, the instructors, mentors, and other experts who together form the community for the course where we encourage everybody to co-create together. And don't forget that you have exclusive access to the extended strategy journey framework and the relevant canvases in there that you'll be using to support the activities and exercises and assignments in this course. And you can access these design thinking templates using our digital whiteboard tools. And there are numerous other specially designed features that add to your user experience on this course to support your learning experience and your learning journey that are available on the Stratability Academy platform. And I highlight how you can access all of these features in one of the lessons in the program introduction. So we've covered what is the operating model transformation design process and what is in this course when you get started with us. So I hope you're really excited to join us in the live lesson. I'll see you there.